If you please join with me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Dr. Trent, would you please take the attendance?
Right, yes. Mr. Foster.
I am here.
Mrs. Burgess. Present. Mrs. Foster is excused absent, she's home sick.
Oh, no.
Mr. Frazier.
Here.
Mr. Nealon.
Here.
Mr. Wentworth.
Here.
Mrs. Ruda.
Here.
And Ms. Atherton Dow.
Hi.
You have a quorum.
This is the time for public participation. If you are here and you'd like to publicly participate, you may go up to our very festive podium that we have here today. Or if you are at home and would like to publicly comment, you can email for public comment at publiccomment@rsu25.org, or you can phone in with your public comment at 307-8099. And since nobody's sprinting up to our festive podium, we will go on to adjustments to the agenda.
Yes, if we could move items L4 through L6, all of our presentations for the trips for this evening, if we could move that to directly after the board chair's report, so that after presenters are done, they can go home and do their homework.
Sounds like a good idea. Next, we will go to approval of the minutes. I believe Mr. Frazier has something to say.
Oh, thanks. This is really petty, really small, but under the attendance, and the meeting dates, for last time we had the facilities committee meeting put down as December 4th, and it was supposed to be December 11th.
I put the wrong date on the agenda of last board meeting, but we actually did meet on the 11th, so.
And I met on the 4th. No, I didn't. All by myself.
You were ready.
I ran a fantastic meeting, but.
There were discussions were minimal.
Good job, Scott.
Is that the only adjustment?
That was the only adjustment.
And I would look for a motion to approve the minutes as adjusted.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you. Next, we have communications and correspondence.
I have one communication, and there was a letter in your packet. We had, and to be honest with you, I do not know, someone within the organization, our Fire organization, nominated Ashley McGuire, who was our head cook at Bucksville Middle School and our food service director. She just took that on this year as a dual position where and she's still doing her head cook duties, but still taking on some additional food service director. And she's really done a great job for the district, finding us, I think she's got 2 or 3 grants, Katie, now that she's for us, attending webinars, and it's really done a lot of great work. And she was nominated for the 2025 Rise Award, and that's given out to the Department of Education, which really just recognizes the efforts of the support staff person that's gone above and beyond to help improve the betterment of the district. So she was nominated, she didn't end up being a finalist. We just released the finalists for that, but still it was a great honor to have someone honestly make that. So we really appreciate the work that she does for us.
Superintendent's report.
So you have my report. One thing I'll add to the report that is not in there, I spent a lot of time this afternoon, speaking with our transportation director, Sue Llewellyn, in light of the tragedy that happened in Standish earlier today. So unfortunately, there was another student death in the state due to a bus accident involving a school bus and a young child. So this is a second one in a couple of months now that's happened. I will say 24 years of education, I don't remember this happening in Maine before, and we've had 2 happen. It's tragic, it's awful for everybody involved, the school community, the families. So, you know, that obviously anytime that you have a tragedy, it sparks a lot of conversations are what are we doing to make sure that we're doing everything possible to make sure that doesn't happen here. So, you know, we spent a lot of time just kind of brainstorming. So we do annual trainings at the beginning of the year. Stop and cross trainings is what we call them. Just count the number of heads that get off your bus and which side that they're supposed to be getting off. You count those heads as they go across. And there's a very formal training that we do with all the bus drivers together. We are gonna do a mid-year mandatory training, just as a refresher. And this is not because we don't trust our bus drivers, they're doing a fantastic job. But we wanna make sure that we can say with a straight face that we're doing everything that we can to keep, everybody safe. So we will be doing an additional training for that. Sue and I were just talking about it today. We haven't really talked to our bus drivers, we're gonna be flexible around it, because obviously we don't have a day that we get out in advance, so we'll have multiple days that they can come in and do this training for them, that we will pay them to come in and do. And then the other thing that we're looking at, and I was talking with the other, school districts in our transportation collaborative, and I noticed that even today when I was at my son's basketball game over in Winterport, the traveling team, not every school bus, as a matter of fact, school buses before 2021, it's not mandatory for them to have the swing arm, the crossing arm on them, that's in the front. We have, I believe it's 3 buses in our fleet, that do not have that swing arm. And the other schools have a couple, so that is gonna be fixed as soon as possible, so as we can get them ordered, we will get them installed. I don't know what that cost is gonna be, barring, we're gonna get it figured. We're gonna make it work to make sure those are installed on the, again, it's only a couple of buses that we have. Remember when we purchased that fleet, we did buy a few trip buses that we do use in our fleet, on smaller runs that have, that don't have that swing arm. But that's something that we can install, talk with our mechanics today. So we will be doing that. At the same time, Sue doesn't even know this yet, but we're gonna be looking to see, is there any other technology that we're not aware of, that we don't possess, that is within our budget, or, or that we should be budgeting for next year, that we should be putting on, just to make sure that we're doing what we need to do, within reason, obviously there's some things, you can pay a lot of money to have, next greatest thing, but we wanna make sure that we have more than adequate technology, implemented on our buses to avoid tragedy, so.
Do you have any idea what time the earliest child was picked up? The only reason I ask this is I followed a bus to Bangor, and in Orrington, they were picking up students at 20 minutes to 7, and it was dark.
This time of year, so that happens here, I mean,
Yeah.
we
Pick them
have,
up that early?
it's a little later than that, but not much, we go somewhere between 4:15 and 5:00, you have, not,
Still dark.
if you're in the far parts of, like, you're going out to Prospect, because we only have so many runs in Orland, or North Orland, you do have some that start out early,
It comes to my house about 2 minutes before 7.
yeah.
It used to come at 7:05 at my house.
And this time of year, it's I mean, it's, so,
And every student I saw was wearing dark clothing. I'm thinking, oh my God.
so. Again, none of this that we're doing now is in response to, we're very lucky with the drivers that we have, and, but I'd rather be over the, and again, unfortunately in tragedy, it gives you reminders just to take a look at everything that we're doing, so I just wanted to let you know that we are doing that, and I will keep you updated on anything that I find, and
Board Chair's report. There's a few things going on here at the school. One thing you may have noticed when you came in is that we have a broken door here at high school. And it opened up something that I didn't know. And that is that we don't have a large amount of cameras over our parking and exterior. And I would think that is something that our facilities committee and our safety plan ought to start to think about. Not only for the property damage issue, but also some of these large universities where there have been shootings, how they actually get the perpetrators is by finding cameras around the perimeter of the building. And so I think that might be something that we should probably start to look at and budget for. But on a lighter note, basketball season started, and the band and the cheerleaders are amazing. And the girls team, the first team out was a little rough, Second was really rough. There was a lot of fouls, but it was a very exciting game. And I think on third shot, we're gonna do it. Third shot, we're gonna do it. We're almost like, so that's board chips. And now comes on to our trips.
Yes. So the first one that we have will be L4. And this is gonna be the history cruise sports. So you Mr. Jones and Mrs. Zeller and students.
Here.
I didn't know which groups were which, so.
Yeah.
A lot of Listen
Would you like them to stand up in front? They're asking me. Would you like the whole class up there as well? Would you like to hear from them? All right. You asked, so if you asked.
I told them that they weren't gonna have to,
But then there's.
Well, they're gonna present, aren't they?
yeah, well, I'm actually. Thanks, guys.
This helps sell.
I'm Chris Jones, and I'm here on behalf of my sports history class. And our proposed class trip to two sports Hall of Fames. The basketball in Springfield, Massachusetts, and more importantly for me, the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, New York. We also hope to book an extra Hall of Fame experience that we got to do 2 years ago. Oh, I forgot the handouts, they're right. They're on the, I apologize, an extra Hall of Fame experience that we got to do 2 years ago where the kids can actually go into, they have a room set up where they can try old baseball uniforms and look at equipment, baseball bats, gloves. And it's a hands-on experience. Our return trip, we plan to stop at the College of Holy Cross to tour the campus like we did last year. It was a great tour and wonderful experience as we toured the athletic facility with Holy Cross's athletic director. We looked at their library, their art center, their church with incredible stained glass windows. We plan to leave Wednesday morning at 6-ish with lunches provided by the school. Drive to Springfield to see the Basketball Hall of Fame. From there, we plan to go to Albany and stop at the Crossgate Mall for supper and a little bit of shopping if there's time. We will spend Wednesday and Thursday night in Cooperstown at the Hampton Inn and get to the Baseball Hall of Fame right at the opening at 9 a.m. so we can get the full experience there. And last year we were able to take a break after viewing about half of the Hall of Fame. Took a break, went to lunch, and then we actually went back to the museum and finished seeing all of the exhibits there. And still had plenty of time, a little bit of extra time on the back end to do some Cooperstown baseball stores. And there's even a hitting indoor hitting facility right next to the Cooperstown baseball field, which I thought might be cool because we've got some softball and baseball players here, so they could get some rips in if they wanted to. We plan to be home Friday night around 7. The students will be responsible for any work they miss while they are gone. And as of right now, the class is planning on 2 more bottle drives to raise more money. The first one, about a month ago, we netted roughly around $600. We believe we'll need about $3,855. We've also asked Aspire for funds. It was put on their agenda yesterday, but we've not heard back from them. We are also planning at least one other possible fundraiser. And there's also a possibility that we might be able to get a hotel discount. In closing, I would like to say that there is absolutely nothing like getting to see actual artifacts. I know personally that anytime you go to a museum and see things that I have talked about in any of my classes, it's an incredible experience. I know one year I went to the Metropolitan Museum of Art and Denise was there, and there was a painting of John Brown, and it was something that I taught in AP, and just see this work of art, was a moment for me. And I hope that type of moment that I saw, that I experienced is something that these guys can also experience, because as of right now, the unit that we're studying is the history of baseball. So they're gonna have an opportunity to see Babe Ruth's locker, the actual locker that Babe Ruth had in Yankee Stadium, one of the $1 million Honus Wagner baseball cards, and for those Red Sox fans, can't leave you guys out, Ted Williams batting zone. So it's they have baseballs, and it's about this big, and it shows all his hot spots and the places where he hit the balls that he obviously, had the weakest attempts at. And if you have any questions, I would be more than willing to
This
answer.
is essentially the same trip you've been running.
It is, this will be our,
This is our third time going.
yeah.
If it's okay, I can speak to the Aspire grant. You were awarded the 1,300.
Oh, cool.
Great, thank you.
Awesome.
Great, thank you, Denise.
Well, Chris, this isn't a question, but I'm envious. On my bucket list to go to the Baseball Hall of Fame, Basketball Hall of Fame, and no, I did not watch Babe Ruth play. Ted Williams, yes. Ted Williams I watched. And I stood as close as I am to Danny from Ted Williams when I was a kid.
I'm jealous.
But,
So Scott wants to go next year.
but I'm envious. It's gonna be, I hope they appreciate it.
Oh, I think that, last year was one of those moments where I think that I don't remember the previous one, but there were a group of kids who, as we were moving from room to room, those guys hung with me and I've been to this, I think this is maybe my 6th or 7th time at the Baseball Hall of Fame. And I can't tell you that I never get bored.
Doesn't it change if they change it over?
They have, yeah.
I mean, constantly.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, and it's, I mean, it is if you are a baseball fan, it is an incredible museum because it is literally the history of baseball. It starts at the beginning, which is kind of what, we started the unit at the beginning of baseball. So they are going to see, the history of baseball in like units sort of, and it's gonna be cool. The trophies, the uniforms, the baseballs.
I will say for me, the first time I ever went was the World Series rings, but then originally when it was the pocket watch or the lapel pin, like if you won the World Series, so that's really interesting. Granted that my team wasn't in there, but it's okay.
Who's your team?
I'm a Cleveland fan.
Yeah. 40s. You stepped in there.
How does this tie to the curriculum? I mean, will they be like giving presentations about their experiences, or is there any kind of educational component that's tied into this trip?
Well, one of the cool things that I'm going to do with them is their next major project is a slideshow on a Hall of Fame. I do Hall of Famer slideshows, and the first one that they're going to do are Hall of Famers who played in the 19th century. And so one of the things that they're going to do while they're there is find these plaques, because one of the coolest things about going into that is as you enter the Hall of Fame, the first room that you can go into is the plaque room. And it's, I even used the very first section of the plaques in my U.S. history class to show the first class. And so these guys are gonna find those people that they used, that they used in their slideshow. In fact, one of the slides they have to produce for the slideshow is their Hall of Fame plaque. So it will be included in there. Yeah, it's definitely part of that.
And I will attest to the fact when we go there, the kids every year have always been excited, wait, I gotta go find my Hall of Famer first. And like, you know, they're looking through the years, okay, wait, where is he? And that's,
And Chris, you did, I think it was 14, 15 years ago that you designed this class
Yeah,
somewhere in
yeah,
that area. And
yeah,
again, the whole point of this elective, you know, after they've gone through and taken US history and world history and the idea was to take the lens of really big historic eras, right, and lessons through the lens of sports. And just, you know, how the same topics that they learned about in US history, but portray it through a lens of sports. So, you know, I think Mr. Jones has done a really nice job. We use something that students find interesting, like we can take we can learn the history facts that maybe they'd like to learn about when it was just a straight US history class, but we're gonna get to learn it through the lens of the Olympics or the lens of baseball or football. And then you get to see it play out as they will and that's the crossover to the real specific curriculum standards, if that's what we're asking.
yeah. Well, one of the cool things that it's not just the history of baseball, so I also, there's a unit on the integration of baseball. I do a unit on women's baseball, and there is a section, obviously, in the museum for women. And the All-American Women's Baseball League, the league of their own that they use as for their movie. In the integration of baseball, that's sort of littered all the way through the exhibits, and that also is included in their curriculum as well. So they're specific, because the integration of baseball is so important, and that is, an integral part of my baseball history and the sports history also as well.
Do they have a section on like World War II veterans who left Major League Baseball, like Ted Williams?
No, it was Korean War.
No, well, he did World War II.
Well, yeah, but
And,
Well, he did the Korean War also.
yeah, he did both.
Yeah. Well, he didn't even go to World War II. He was an instructor.
Yeah, then he went.
And then he said, the heck with that, I'm going, yeah.
But he did have, well, anyway, is there a section on that that they
I can't remember. I mean,
it's just something that is kind of cool how this day and age you wouldn't see a
yes.
major league player going into.
I talk about stuff like that during US history. That's part of something that I know I talk about, especially with the World War I, with guys like Cobb and Christy Mathewson.
They did go to World War.
They were drafted and they served in a chemical unit. And Cobb was with Mathewson when he got gassed, but Mathewson got gassed, but it didn't. Cobb was just
That's interesting.
He was off and he didn't. Same place.
We could
One
talk
gets
online
it, one
about
doesn't. Sorry, I'm going down the rabbit hole. He asked the question. Sorry.
So I think it's time for us to end discussion on this and to have a motion. Dan, would you want to make a motion?
Sure, yeah, I would love to.
May make a motion, I make a
Yeah, it's your
motion that we
motion.
approve the funding or the trip for Chris and Mr. Jones and his class to go to 2 Hall of Fames and hold the cross.
second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
You may go.
Have a great time. Have a good time, guys.
Yes, thank you.
We need more chaperones.
Need more chaperones, I think.
Good. He can go.
Yes.
Hurry up, kids.
We are on to album 5. So the next presentation we have is going to be from our outing club that is looking to attend, I think, there you go. And this is another repeat trip. You do have both excursion, actually all the excursion forms are in the drive. They were also in my board report. And this is the trip that they did last year to the Poplar Hut Trail and Smith and
Smith et al. So I am Denise Smith and I am the advisor of the Outing Club. I have been with the Outing Club probably for 20 years now, so I've been doing this quite a bit. And one of the major overnight excursions that we take is up into the Western Mountains to the main huts and trails. They're great because they allow us to have kind of a warmer area where the kids can sleep. We're gonna go in March, so it is a little bit cooler. But it does keep the place where the kids are gonna sleep is gonna be nice and warm. So this year, there are different huts. Last year, I think we went to Flagstaff Hut, and there were some pictures of that excursion from last year. This year, we're gonna go to the Poplar Hut. We have been to this one before. We've actually been to all of them. And they all are absolutely amazing. And I have brought Marina and Lily, and they're gonna do the presentation for you, so.
This trip is planned between March 17th and 19th for 2026. We plan on leaving during period 8 at 2 p.m. for around a 2-hour bus ride. We plan to arrive at Airport Trailhead and gear up around 4:30 to 5 p.m. Sunset is around 6:45 p.m. It is a 2.4 mile hike, roughly taking around an hour and a half, and arriving at the hut between 6:30 and 7 p.m., which we also have headlamps provided by the school in case it's a little bit later.
And that picture right there is of the Poplar Hut. That's the hut that they will be going to. It's a beautiful space.
The cost breakdown is $120 per person with a 3% trail stewardship and maintenance fee. We have around 13 people signed up right now, costing in total $1,608.80.
And I'll speak just briefly on that. It's fluid right now. I have a few kids still wanting to go, and so they've kind of hit us up. So that number may grow a little bit. And so we'll be fundraising for that, but it is a little bit fluid, that number, just so you're aware.
We have a bottle drive planned around January 17th, along with a possible bake sale that we are still figuring out the details to. And if needed, we will be doing more than one of them to make up costs in case more students join us. Aspire contributed $1,300 for this trip, and we would like to thank them. For gear for the trip, we have headlamps, backpacks, warm hiking clothing, layers, and wicking, wool socks, supply sled, microspikes, snowshoes, sleeping bags, and the school owns much of this gear to help offset costs for any students wanting to participate. And me, Lily, and other people have gear that we can offer people who want to go on the trip. For who is going and what are we doing, we have chaperones, Denise Smith and Matt Morrison, 5 girls and 6 boys. Day 1, we plan to travel in and unpack. Day 2, use multi-use trail to hike, which will include the viewing of 2 waterfalls, Southbrook Falls and Poplar Stream Falls. And day number 3, pack and travel back. And on the right are pictures of the waterfalls and streams that we can view. And these are the activities and some pictures that we did at the Flagstaff Hut last year. A lot of kids use the sleds that we use for supplies to go sledding, and the cleaning up, so we'll all clean up after we eat and dinner. And then last year there was a lake that they went on to and had a lot of fun. They also participated in some sort of Winter Olympic Games as a challenge to kind of spend time outside without our phones. And the educational purposes of it would be learning for hypothermia training, keeping yourself warm. We all cook our own meals and clean up after ourselves, and just basically spending time in nature.
Any questions?
Denise, what's the number which you have to cut off and say I can't take any more?
So I have to check with the hut. I've already checked once because even though we've had 2 mandatory meetings, you know how it happens with kids. And so I've already contacted them. They were fine with the 2 extras, but then there was another, I think at least 1 or 2 today. So the huts, depending on where we go, usually we take 2 rooms, and that would be 7 per room. So 14 would be somewhere where that number would be. If they would allow us to have an extra room, and sometimes they do this, especially in March, it might not be popular. They might give us a 3rd room without charging us for the whole room, and then we would just charge per person. So it's.
So there's no definite answer.
There's no definite answer, and the rooms are really weird because it depends on which hut you go to. Last year, the hut had 7 in every hut had 7 beds. And so we, of course, get our own hut, and boys and girls. But some of them have like 2 beds, and some have 3 beds. So it really depends on which hut it is. And so it kind of makes it a little bit different depending on which hut you go to. And to be honest, I don't remember the room situation for Poplar. I've been to them all, so I just don't remember which one that one was.
And on the agenda, I have the wrong dates because we switched it. Originally it was 17th through 19th, then we were moving it to 10th through 12th. And I thought I had changed it back, but the 17th through the 19th is right in the excursion form, it's just wrong on the agenda, so.
Thank you, yeah.
Well, I think that was an excellent presentation.
Yes, thank you.
Great job. You've got to have some of your students present next time. Showing up, you still did an excellent job, girls. And I would look for motion.
Well, I move that we approve the outing club trip to Repair Bassett Valley.
Second.
Sorry, Keith.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Wanted to.
That is unanimous. Have a great trip.
Thank you.
Have a great trip.
Scott, you didn't volunteer for our trip in March. I was thinking you did not. Thank you, have a good night.
Still sitting next to my wood stove.
Next, we have committee reports.
So we got one more.
Oh, one more.
There's no president presenter, so this meeting.
Oh, it's just, I lose, right?
Just while we're in the term of approving trips, we have the excursion forms for all of our robotics events that we have at the end of the year. I've listed them on here, those are the correct dates. I will say that all the typical ones that we do have one that bounces between like Rhode Island, New Hampshire, Vermont, depending on where they happen to be hosting it. They like to go to that one because the competition there is really good and they want to get tested before going to their other one. So they usually always do 4, 1 in state, 3 out of state, and those 4 include the world championships in Houston.
Is that always in Houston?
It has been for St. Louis the first year, and then every year since then has been Houston.
Yeah.
And so we need a motion on those.
Yes, because they're all overnight, so we would need, even though there's one in state, but it's an overnight one, so we need to move that.
And I would look for a motion to approve the robotics trips.
No, good. So moved.
All right.
Second.
We got a motion and a second on the robotics trips. All those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you.
You can also use so moved.
I know, if I did the agenda, I don't know what to say.
Now we'll
okay.
move on to
I'm
committee
looking on.
reports. We've got curriculum. And Abby isn't here. You have somebody else?
Yeah, so the curriculum committee met, and there were a couple of presentations. The first presentation was from Mrs. Hall, and she spoke about us investigating as a district the potential move of having first grade move from the Miles Lane School to the Jewett School. And the catalyst behind that is, for those of you that have had students go through Miles Lane, in particular right now, that building is busting at the seams in terms of students. And it's more than just the number of students, it's the makeup and layout of that building and just how the rooms are a little weird, they're kind of like trapezoidal, triangular. And, you know, where we have a lot of our rooms where students are receiving special services, it's very congested. So we have access room down at the Jewett School because we used to have, well, one time, if you remember, we did have both kindergarten and first grade there for a year. And that was when we had 5 kindergartens and 4 first grades at the time. And then most recently, we've had 5 kindergarten classrooms down there, along with our 4 pre-K classrooms. Those 5 kindergartens are now down to 3. So, and those 3 kindergartners are obviously gonna be first graders next year. So we have this opportunity where we have, and we only anticipate 3 more kindergarten classrooms next year. So we feel like we can alleviate a space problem that we have at the Miles Lane School. We have the space and capacity at the Jewett School. It would allow us to move use one of the wings at the Miles Lane School, for, special service rooms, where they can receive services in there and not be so jammed up. And, again, if you've been through Miles Lane, you kind of know where some of those, just off the library, those rooms are really tight in there. And it's not gonna cost us, outside of cardboard boxes, to move things from, from those classrooms down, because we have the space. It certainly could change, some configurations of our specials down at the Jewett School, like art, maybe going to a cart and go from classroom to classroom as opposed to having an art room down there, which is the way we used to do it in that building anyways. We also feel that this is gonna make the principal position more attractive at the Miles Lane School. If you have one less grade, obviously that's less students there, and as we, last year, our pool of candidates was not overwhelming. Anything we could do to make that more attractive. Mrs. Beers is, more than capable of bringing on a grade. We don't feel like there'll be a lot of parental pushback because we're not having kids move. It's not like they've gone to Miles Lane from Jewett and now we're asking them to go back. They would just be staying there. Developmentally, it gives them one more year of consistency in the same building before they go on to the Miles Lane School. And it provides our kindergartners with another peer group closer to their age. So those, all the pros, there's still some stuff to be fleshed out. This is not 100% a done deal. We wanna make sure that we're getting everybody involved in the conversation early, so that there's no surprises, and come May, we let 3 teachers know, hey, by the way, you're moving down to the Jewett School. Start planning your, curriculum differently, or, we have multi-age classrooms in grades 1 and 2, so we would need to take a look at that and maybe we do a second grade, third grade multi-age classroom, we do looping, do we wanna look at looping in the, there's lots of those types of questions that we will bring to the curriculum committee as we have discussions internally through the administrative team and through our leadership teams at the school.
Can you explain what's looping to people that might not know what looping is?
Yeah, so looping is when you have the same teacher and the same cohort of kids for 2 years. So like currently we have a looping structure, 3rd and 4th grade. So you would stay through with the same teacher for 3rd grade and 4th grade. So that teacher loops with them and then goes back to be a 3rd grade teacher after that rotation.
I asked that question the other day, so.
Hey, you never know.
Thank you.
As a former teacher, I wish I had done that. I wish we'd had that opportunity, because that second year, they know your routine, you just start right off and you go. You don't waste a couple of weeks of getting to know you and getting to know your routine. It's a great thing. I love it.
The olders can sort of mentor the youngers a little bit too. They're in a little bit of that structure they guide them through.
So on looping structure, you have 2 grades with 1 teacher, or is it just a?
No.
So the youngers mentoring the olders,
No?
Not in the looping structure.
that
That's
happens in
that's
multi-age.
That happens.
That's
all-
the
Okay,
multi-age.
that's where I
Yeah,
got
my bad.
Class, and then you
I'm sorry,
follow them to the next
you
class.
confused me.
Yeah, I confused myself.
I would have you in 2nd grade,
Yeah.
and then next year, I'd have be a 3rd grade teacher.
Yes, that's how I had understood it.
Yeah, and then I go back.
Until I was told there was a difference.
Yeah, but that's multi-age, which is
But
the,
multi-age.
Which is another option.
Which is what my children did,
Right.
is exactly what you described.
Yeah, I loved
Yes.
that. Oh my gosh, I missed that.
There's a lot of creative ways.
and the nice thing is we've been able to hold on to a blend of a bunch of different options. With only having 3 grades there, we theoretically could have multi-age 2-3, a looping 2-3, with half our kids multi-age, half our kids looping, and a standalone 4th grade. Which would be more consistent to what they're gonna see at the middle school level,
Yeah.
right? So there's options. We know that there's lots of questions that will come up through it. The teachers are aware, curriculum committee, obviously heard it, and our leadership teams have heard it. So we've tried to roll it out strategically so that nobody's getting blindsided by anything. And again, I want to be clear that this is not a done deal. This is just conversations that we're having right now, but there seems to be a lot of pros.
Did you see any pushback?
There's questions
Sure,
more than pushback, I think would be the.
but like no one's saying, no, I don't wanna move.
I mean, there's some people that have preferences to stay.
Makes sense.
They also understand that we have to do what we feel is the best for kids and,
In the space that we have.
in the space that we have. And I will say, and Christina's been this is a good time to do it if we're going to do it. Because Christina is there, she understands, she has the bigger view, in her years as curriculum coordinator, as Miles High School principal. And if you're gonna have someone make a big change like this and have it ready to go for an incoming principal, this would be the time to do it, as opposed to a new principal coming in and trying to make a big change like that their first year. So we will keep you updated. Right now, I'll just say we're in the discovery, okay? We're asking the teachers, let us know what we need, what are the questions out there. We will bring back a recommendation to the curriculum committee, and then eventually the board.
Personally, as it's been presented, it makes good sense to me. I think this does help enhance our ability to try to find a principal, which we desperately need. It helps spread the workload between the two buildings, and we do have a principal there, so I think that makes sense. And it also, I think, might help in the peace and harmony within Miles Lane building, which may be one of the reasons why we did see a drop in performance. And if anything we can do to help correct that, I'm totally for it.
Well, it doesn't make sense to have one school crowded and another school to have empty classrooms.
Right. It just doesn't.
It can be such an easy thing, but, like you said, still a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Still in discovery, and
And
that's good.
I appreciate the, when Christina, Nicole, and Tara brought this, proposal to me, and it's just the thoughts, my initial, like, we gotta sell it to me, like, I need to know why it's the right move, and, they sold me pretty quickly. But what I appreciate is this, and just because we, when you have this idea, it's easy for you to see all the roses, right, and all the good stuff, the flowers. You don't always see the thorns hiding behind them, and other people help point out those thorns and figure out, what obstacles there might be. And by doing it now, we have time to kind of, weed out all those obstacles. I already kind of recapped the other part of the curriculum committee was the discussion around FAPE and 3-year-olds, and I talked about that a little bit at finance in last meeting, and really just kind of looking at, does it make sense for us to join that cohort next year, knowing that we're gonna have to do it the year after?
Yes.
There's very negligible fiscal impact to us to do it. It's really just us trying to make sure we have the capacity to do so with our staff. I feel like we do. We're gonna do a little more research. I do not need board action for us to join a cohort like that. We do need to know by the beginning of February officially. I would say I'm gonna have to make a decision sooner than that, because they actually will come and do a site visit to make sure that we have our physical plant space is allowable for us to, which it will, because we have Head Start and pre-K in there already, so that's not gonna be an issue, but we do need to schedule that. And if there's anything that say you need to add, they pay for it, so there's no danger, like if they say you need to put in whatever, they have monies designed specifically for this cohort with it. Whereas the next year, there won't be that money, so this is kind of a one-time, these first 3 cohorts is the only chance you get to do that.
I like cohort 3 then.
So, again, I don't need formal board action, this curriculum committee did seem supportive of joining cohort 3. It is a general consensus, if you're okay with me making that decision, if I finally get the 100% of this is not gonna cost us anything, and we're more importantly, we have the capacity to do this.
Looks like heads are nodding.
Okay. And if we do that officially, I will send you an email, folks, to all of you, and let you know.
Next, we've got Finance Committee. Finance Committee met right before this meeting. We discussed the budget to actual up to the end of November. That percentage target is about 42%. We're at about 33% used, so we're doing pretty well. We also discussed the state of food service, and there's been some improvements there financially, so we're in better shape in that as well. Any questions on finance? All right, next we've got policy.
Policy committee, we did meet, bring forth 3 policies this evening, and a group of policies that reviewed with no changes. Mr. Tripp outlined those pretty well in his report, so we'll talk about those when we get there. As far as going forward, we talked about possibly having a meeting in January if needed, and then kind of taking a hiatus through the spring as we start to look into budget season and also negotiations with the support staff. It's gonna be taking quite a bit of number of our time, so.
Next, we've got facilities.
We met last Thursday. It was a field trip of two schools. It was Miles Lane and the high school. At Miles Lane, we toured the areas for potential new windows that need to be replaced. We found Dave was telling us about it, and actually we talked about this before, about a safety issue with the windows when they are open. Kids run into them, or they could run into them, and it's not a good thing. So we talked about that. We talked about a carpet that probably, or maybe two carpets, I think it was just one or several, or I saw one. It was in bad shape that will need to be replaced. Then we went down to the high school and we toured the science wing where they replaced the new windows. And then Dave mentioned how he and Dr. Tripp met with Dick Rollins of BIMS about updating of the infrastructure study. And then getting back to what you said, Tom, after we met, Josh and I and another member of the committee had a brief discussion on the cameras. And it sounds to me like it's a pretty expensive thing too, so I don't know what's gonna happen there, if you can elaborate on that.
But, you know, Mr. Morrow, can do a better job than I can at this, but what I would just say is we can we have solutions for cameras. And there's, you know, Danny was asking, he said, well, can we just put a Ring doorbell or something along those lines on the front end? You know, those types of solutions are unique, but they also open up security network issues when you have an open source network like that. So Mr. Warren and I have talked about this. There is some very feasible solutions that we can put for small areas, like if we want to do just the front parking lot. And Jim, I'll let you elaborate on this. But if we're talking bigger, broader, add on to our current network of cameras, that's a substantial investment to get like 360 around, where we would really either be looking to add a decent amount into our budget, or we would be looking at grants.
How much of the parking lot and perimeter is currently viewable by camera?
Just the back parking lot.
Okay.
And when I say back parking lot, basically between the boiler room and the adult ed building straight backwards.
Oh, so that is pretty concerning, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
Yes, I've worked in security systems and surveillance for many, many years, from loss prevention in stores. We were trying to see the finicky movement of fingers up through general observation and law enforcement. What we always try to avoid when we build here is what I call the banker's view. You're always looking for the suspect's logo on their hat. So we try to avoid that, right? We try to get down to the face level. So some restrictions that we have are, in order to do that, like the back parking lot here, would either need a smart camera, which costs around $5,000, we need 2 of them. And then you could have a receiver that can grab hold of that, or we need 8 cameras out back. So the thing we need to do is understand, and I agree with moving through committee like Mr. Foster said, is if we can plan through facilities and safety committee, I only recommend facilities, I take the camera ownership, technology does in this building, it's kind of split depending on where you go. And make a plan that we are comfortable with, because we need to understand what we want to do. Do we want to saturate and see every square inch, or do we want to see overall? In this case, if we're talking about the vandalism that occurred up front, we want to see there was 2 people, it's late at night, you're gonna see probably just that. Or a vehicle was involved, at least you know you're looking for a car, truck, SUV.
Yeah, if we had like a license plate, or even if it was just a pickup truck versus a car, I mean, that could at least thin it out a little bit.
Yeah, so the license plate's a good point, because to get a license plate reader or readable license plates, you need to be well positioned, and in our parking lot, the way it's staged, we need probably 6 cameras focused on license plates, and that's all they do. Now you say, well, Jim, I can get that at my house. I hear this thing about cameras all the time that they zoom in, they do when they go to a cloud. And outside the school, Dr. Tripp and I have spoken, I'm okay having a cloud-based solution that monitors the outside of our building. So it's a public space, anybody could see it anytime. It's maybe a stern stance, but if you wanted me to move a cloud solution inside our buildings where school records could be, people could monitor activities of students and staff, we'd have to have a closed door conversation, really see where we want to be. But outside, I think we have the advantage of using possibly something as a secondary system. Now, what happens with a secondary system is internally, our cameras are monitored by the office. We can pull them in different spots throughout the RSU in case of a major incident. Those are monitored by staff for seeing workflows or incidents that may occur. A secondary system may not be as smooth. You know, a lot of the home cameras allow you to see one camera at a time or like 2 or 3 cameras at a time. They're not meant for that mass workflow of visibility. The good news is that we decided 2 years ago that this is exactly what we wanted to be prepared for. Unfortunately, the bad actors got ahead of us by about a year. So we just replaced our server array we received the equipment in August, we're up and running on the new system. We're now going to repurpose the existing hardware to be our new surveillance servers, which brings a lot of hardware, about $5,000 worth of hardware per building at no additional cost, because we're just recycling equipment. Unfortunately, we have to get those installed. So when they get installed, we actually have some cameras reserved to bring up some spots inside some of the other buildings other than the high school to bring them up to par. So this year, we may get 1 or 2 outside cameras, and then next year, what I've done as we prepare the budgets, I've left a flat line budget amount in each of the buildings with the focus being outside. Now that we recycle the existing equipment, we'll be able to maintain more cameras. One of the problems we have here at this school is like we added a camera inside this building for a very low cost in a space that was a problem with foot traffic. Easy enough, we put a monitor up there, they see it in the front office. But even a cheap camera these days is too advanced for the system we have recording it. So in order to advance the system, we need to replace the backbone first. And that's what kind of where we're jammed up right now. But Dr. Tripp and I have talked about putting stuff out, at least like we talked about the bus incidents. If that were to occur on property, we definitely want to see what happened, right? The vandal situation, obviously it'd be easier if we knew we were looking for a truck and 2 people and they went towards Orland from here. Those are great aspects to be able to share with an investigation. So hopefully.
No, that camera that's down there now in the lobby.
Yeah.
You're talking about that, that just isn't a monitor in the office, so.
Yeah, it's made to
so
see.
it doesn't record anything?
It's made to see the entry door, because that's the one door we can remote open. So.
But it didn't have a bit.
Well, we were able to get timestamps on it.
Okay.
We were able to get some information out of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was
We
wondering.
saw the window break, it actually triggered the motion lights, and we actually saw the pane break, but we couldn't see who was doing it. So it was far enough away that we couldn't see it through the camera. So.
Should put one in that lobby.
I'll tell you one thing I always chase is like we'd store surveillance. We would have 68 cameras in one of the mall stores. And people, it was like someone had a spotlight on the spot we couldn't see. So then we would take little portable like battery powered cameras and put them in there in an area we knew where it could hit. We might pick up one person and no one would ever go back there again. They'd be on the other side of the store in a different dark spot. And you're like, we would reconfigure cameras in the ceilings and move stuff. That's why we're able to do it here without bringing in vendors. Because I chased cameras for 6 years in crazy configurations and moving equipment, and they always find the dark spot.
Wow.
But it's a good conversation, and like I said, this role has possibilities and options for us. And it really is just gonna come down to a decision where he'll lay out like he always does. Here's the Get By version, here's the Cadillac version, here's the middle of the road version, and just really what can we support, what can we invest in, and what are we gonna prioritize, and which I appreciate. We'll have options, and we'll do the best that we can.
You say you're all right with a cloud-based system, but does that constantly run 24/7?
Yes, so it all depends. The thing with the cloud-based system is it has to get there. So if you were to have an outage of some type, it doesnn't get there. One of the reasons why I like an internal system is you cannot get to our system from outside. It's completely isolated. Right. You could have every key network, best network, you just can't get there because it doesn't go there. It's a completely isolated system, which for its purpose is awesome. And again, the outside, the cloud-based, the reason is cloud doesn't give you as long as storage as we have. We actually have a policy that dictates our storage, and we've adjusted our storage lengths to make sure we comply. We used to record stuff for years. When we have 3 or 4 cameras sitting in a school that's old, now our policy is 30 days. So we make sure we don't carry past 30 days, because we'd be in violation of our own policy.
Yeah.
So if we do it into a cloud solution, it'd be the same situation, but that actually helps us in the cloud environment, because normally you start paying a lot more if you exceed 30 days or 60 days of storage in the cloud.
If we did go to one of these cloud situations, and my level of understanding on this, but does that expose us to like somebody coming in seeing what's going on inside of the school?
What do you?
So that's one of my things is poor David recently sat down with a company I won't mention, but they have a huge sales department. And in the state of Maine, schools, municipalities, they're on board with them very, very heavily. I'm not comfortable moving that way. They've had 2 security breaches, one exposed video, one exposed usernames and passwords. And they're very diligent, they report it, it happens. But if we don't go to the cloud to begin with, it can't happen. Now, I sound like I should be removing myself from my position with that statement. But in some cases, you want to be aware of that. So, and again, on the outside of the building, I'm open to a cloud solution, because if somebody were to be able to get into our cameras and go, haha, I can see the bus arrive at 2:20 like it does every day, and anybody would know if they drove by. That's not strategically advantageous to me over somebody else. And if someone were able to execute and view cameras either individually or from a system at 2 a.m, it'd be pretty dull. Now, we obviously would want to limit that, but that's exactly why, because even the strongest situations get in there. I mean, we've got background checks, hospitals, we've got municipalities, sheriff's office who have all been corrupted. You know, when you're dealing with cyber, I don't think we're invincible, except when you cut the line.
And how, we share kind of the same stance as does public safety. You know, we don't feel that there's a right to privacy out in our front parking lot. Right. So if you're walking out there and we catch you on a camera and it goes to the cloud and someone hacks the cloud and they see you walking in our front parking lot, that's on you for walking in our front parking lot, and that's no different than if you walk in front of a store, right? And they have surveillance out there, you're outside. Whereas if you're inside of the buildings and you have there's just different rights that we feel like that we have to put layers of security on.
In my personal house is a library of people's faces, vehicles and license plates that have gone by my house or come into my house. We can't have that as a municipality, or excuse me, as a school district. We can't do facial recognition. So any system that we have that has a capability, we need to 100% verify that's not functioning. The city of Holden just had multiple lawsuits, and they've been told they need to shut down their camera system after they invested all this money for it, because they had that on, and in their statement, it was accidental. So in any cloud solution you get, even the basic cameras you can buy for $59 on Amazon during Black Friday, they have facial recognition in it, because it's such an easy task.
So, the municipality of Bucksport, they've got a camera system on the waterfront.
Correct.
So what do they use?
So they use a system that's closed as well, because of the fact that it also incorporates inside of some of their buildings. So they have a closed system, and they're actually transferring over to the same system that we are with the same hardware, where that was the same purchase. So we're both doing transition at the same time.
But it isn't like they've got something that, because they're not a school district, they can get away with something that we otherwise couldn't. We could just have it like in front of the Windbelt.
Sure. Someone owns that, not us. I get what you're saying. Yeah. And actually, the system that we have has been deployed at the middle school. We've had it up there, I think this is our 2nd year with it now. And that has worked out very well for us. Access is easier, pulling video is easier, replay is easier, the clarity on the cameras is great. What we can do is motion record. So I happened to be working one night at the police department, and I had an officer say, hey, I've got a vehicle coming down when we were under construction at the middle school. It's loaded with equipment. I'm gonna stop it and interview the person. Can you pull the video and see where they went? Because I work at the school, my role, I have access to the outside of the building. And I didn't have to sit there and watch the entire video while the officer's standing by. It was all motion-based. I could see that the vehicle never went past Miles Lane. So that was a quick view that we could do, and that's some of the advanced features we get when we're looking for resources. And we've already got it deployed, so we know how to manage that system.
Well, it sounds like you guys have got a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
And you'll see activity this year is the best part, is you'll see activity this year, because we have the new system to come on board, it'll be after the new year, and we have internal enhancements that we're gonna see that are digital. And we've had many requests from the administrators, and once we're on that new hardware, or the recycled hardware, there's a lot more we can do.
But we do get some of the frustrations we've heard from administrators, from staff, from parents, like, just put the camera outside. Again, you go onto Amazon, you can find, I could get 15 cameras for, $150. How come we can't just put them up there and you got the world covered? And if it was that simple, we would have had a camera on every.
But they're motion triggered, right? They
It all depends on what you get. There are some that constantly stream, there are some that are the ones that I really like, it's, they record to the camera and they record to the cloud. So if the internet was out, you could go pull it from the camera.
Oh, yeah.
And if someone's knocked out or stole your camera, it's in the cloud. So you kind of get the best of both worlds there. I really like that model. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
HCTC.
HCTC.
Well, we had our
See, I told you,
annual,
We needed to have those before.
we had our annual breakfast meeting put on by the culinary students, and it was fabulous. They do a great job. And it's a meeting where we invite the principals and the guidance counselors from sending schools so that Bill can explain what goes on at HCTC. And this year he did something different, and I loved it. I thought it was great. He had a panel, I'd say about 10 students maybe. I was trying in my head to recount what it was. About 10 students, all from that take different things down there. And he had a series of questions. And then they could, any of them that wanted to answer that question, could. And they were not bashful. And we had 3 students from Bucksville that was represented. One was from welding, one was from early childhood, and one was from the culinary arts. And it was, they really, the more they got into it, then they all wanted to answer the questions and everything. And I thought it was very, very informative. I thought it was better than what Bill did. He's given a, just slide presentation and stuff.
One was from Diesel Technology too. One was in the Diesel program.
Oh, really?
Dawson was in that, yeah.
Okay, I missed that one, because I talked to the one girl that was in Diesel, 'cause I knew her grandparents. So, yeah, I'm old. So, but it was very, very, very well done, and I loved it. I thought it was great.
Any questions for HCTC?
was good. Yeah, the food was excellent.
Next, we've got personnel. We've got, it looks like a resignation from sport person.
Yes, we have a resignation for Dolores Craven, who just turned in her resignation this past week. She called me, she just had some health concerns. She's been with us for a year. She actually retired, come back. But just as a position due to her health that she felt like she was missing more time than she felt she should be doing. So she has resigned, and we thank her for her contributions to the RSU over the years.
Well, I move that we accept Dolores's retirement or resignation with regret.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Unanimous. Thank you. Next, we have a nomination. Custodian.
Yes, so we have Hunter Terry is our nomination for custodian. There'll be a nighttime custodian here. He's actually subbing for us this evening. I was gonna bring him in. I spotted him out there, but I didn't catch him on the way up through, which means he's hard at work, which is perfect.
He saw it last night too, because he saw me, he said, hey!
Hunter had as a student here, graduated when I was principal. So he was looking to come back and help out. This actually, a few months ago, I had brought a nomination for you. We approved it. That person actually ended up choosing to remain at their current employer, never made it here. So it's not that person come in and didn't work out, they just never showed up. So
Never started.
we have this as a replacement.
Well, I move that we accept the nomination of Hunter Terry as custodian.
Second. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? And that is approved. Next, we have first reading of policy.
All right, so we have 3 policies on the docket here. The first one was formerly EEAG. David and I couldn't remember why it was EEAG, and we just assumed at the time when it came through that was the policy code that was there. If you go into MSMA's database that they give us, it is EEBP. I made the recommendation to the policy committee that we change the policy code so that whenever they have a new policy, it can cross-references one that's in their database, we will be aligned to that. There was some language that I put in my report that was added to it, specifically identifying school vehicles as one of our preferred methods of transportation. Initially, we had just said school buses, but now we have vans, so we want to make sure we put school vehicles in there. There's a big section in there about, and again, this is about staff using their personal vehicles to transport students. This does not happen very often because we have a number of vans and because we use buses, but there are those rare instances where, and I would say it happens during the spring, we got robotics going all over the country, so they've got a bunch of vans. We have vans here that we use in district to transport kids, and then we may have 2 kids that need to go to a music festival in Orono, and the teacher's going up there. Financially, it doesn't make sense to send a bus for 2 kids. The teacher's going up there anyways. We notify the parents via a field trip form. We collect insurance, we collect all this information. We added some of that language into this policy, but it was practices that we were already doing. Again, we do it very, very rarely, but in the cases that we do, this policy allows us to do so. It actually also adds in volunteers to be allowed to drive, either our vehicles or personal vehicles. Again, I will say that this happens very, very, very rarely. But I know that has happened. We had a situation where we had to have a former employee that used to drive bus for us, drive one of our vans. He was a parent of a group of kids. We needed an extra driver to go to trade, I believe it was, or Telstar, I can't remember. And again, when you look at the cost per gallon for a van compared to a bus, it's when we're driving that far, it's more feasible for us to use our vans. But this just kind of allows us to do that. And how that plays into the next one, EEBB-E. That was a form that we've had in existence that basically collected that personal vehicle insurance and driver information, background checks. Our insurance company actually provides a form that they would like us to use. And we feel that if we're gonna file a claim and something happens, we're probably better off using the form that the insurance company gives us and not one that we created 12 years ago that we haven't touched, 12, 13 years. And that form's gonna change over time. So our recommendation from the policy committee is to scratch that policy completely, get rid of it. And we added language into that first policy that says the superintendent or designee is in charge of developing forms and procedures to administer the policy. So it allows us to be fluid if we change insurance companies, whatever may come up. But it had all the same information that our current one had plus more.
Actually, it was a little more concise than what we had in policy, and as Josh said, it allows us to, if the insurance company changing something, we don't have to go back through the process of policy and adopt it again. It'll be an administrative change. Makes sense to put it there.
So even though we have that second policy really is on there just as it needs to go away. Like we're gonna be scratching that policy from RSU. So when you're voting on this, you're voting for that second policy to go away. EEBB-E will disappear.
Is gone.
Is gone. And then the third policy, school records retention, you do not have that in your packets because it is 26 pages long. The state statute lays out how long we have to hold on to everything from school personnel records to school records to interview records. Sue has a list. She'll go say, and she'll have to go through and clean out personnel.
If you could please recite that would be
For
fantastic.
that, for making sure, this form has been here 6 years, this form's been here 4 years, is that?
At the, our administrative assistants do the majority, 99% of it, they take care for us. This,
Some of them are lifetime, there was a
Yeah,
good
some.
number of them that are permanent.
Yeah, but that's an easy one.
They brought those seminary records from when the
Yeah.
seminary,
yeah.
that we
Really?
retain those records, they have to be retained forever.
So Drummond Woodson puts out every, I think the last one was 2020, every 4 or 5 years on the annual. I took what their recommendation was, I aligned it to statute, it was exactly the same. So rather than trying to figure out every little change that was in there, basically I just took what the new statute is and I put it into a document, and those are the 26 pages.
Have the seminary records been digitized?
And the amount of time that would take.
That is an intense amount of time.
I just wasn't sure.
Yeah, or money. The one thing that we are doing, we started 5 years ago when I was at the high school, Cindy Lozier, and maybe the reason she retired, I don't know, is she started scanning in all of our transcripts that we keep in the vault, high school transcripts, because if there was to be a fire, we would, outside of 2009, when they started becoming digital, everything else is hard copy, so we would lose that. So I think she was through Kay or Al, and I know Jill has taken that on, scanning every transcript that we have front and back, labeling the file and putting it into a digital storage.
So what about all these other forms and everything, where are they stored?
The big ones, if you go to the central office, Sue can give you a tour of.
Well, I've been downstairs and
Dungeon.
if there's ever a fire, we're gonna lose those.
Yeah, that's.
Well. Okay, but we're not.
Oh, that one.
It doesn't have anything to do with the school, but it has to do with trying to digitize files. As you can imagine, with what I do, there's an awful lot of paper files. And the entire attic and basement of my building are nothing but paper boxes filled with files. Our firm has been around for almost 50 years. And we have a policy which, if you have been our client and are still our client, we retained your files since the beginning of time. And if you leave, we will still keep your files for another 3 years. And there's incredibly limited turnover in what we do. And I was so happy, just so happy, when I finally got to shred the town of Bucksport files. Because we used to audit the town of Bucksport, and it was one of the firm's first clients. We had done them forever. And we had to terminate our relationship when I came on the school board 17 years ago. And that cleaned out like a wall. It was amazing. But in that process, my father said, well, we can just put these all on floppy disks. That's what it was back then. And he set me to the task of trying to scan and digitize these files. And it's an impossible task. You think it's just, you just put them in and you just run them through. No, you gotta label every one of them, and you gotta, read what it is and decide what it is so you can set up its own little file. It takes forever, and it just isn't worth it. It just literally isn't worth it. And if the place burns to the ground and, some of my not-for-profit clients lose their files from 1977, so be it. I'm not gonna go and digitize this. And we really shouldn't spend the money to do that.
Right, and that's the alternative, it would cost a lot of money, so. And then the other ones I have there are for review only, and there were no changes, and they were all really just straightforward.
For the record retention, is there a way to set that up so we don't have to review it every 5 years? Or are you just gonna rewrite that policy every 5 years when the new recommendations come out, or is there a plan for that?
If we get a change, so, what we would do anyways, so like if there's a change to once, and I don't know the last time there's been a change to one of these. It was before I was principal, if they do, we would be mandated to really follow state policy anyways. So if they tell us that's changed from 6 years to 10 years, before we get through, we'll make that change, we'll do the 2 months, but we would follow state law.
I just didn't know to make it easier, so, like, I know you're trying to review them every so often, if you just want to, just every 5 years, you'll just redo this one?
Yeah, this is what we'll probably put on our record of kind of highlighted ones, just a double check. But honestly, Drummond Woodson is really good at saying, like notifying us and saying, hey, this is a change, you need to do this, and that will trigger us stuff.
Let's try to make it easier on you.
No, I appreciate that, because but now that I have this one typed out,
Okay.
and if they give us very specific changes, I can go back and do it. The problem is before it was a PDF and I couldn't.
Oh, okay.
So,
Great.
I would ask for us to accept the first reading of EEBB and EHB and the disillusionment of EEBB-E. Removal of.
So moved.
All right.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
That would be good.
Have been moved on to
So
second reading.
That's good.
And then we have, you had a list for just review. Those ones you also need a motion to move forward?
No, I did that, no, oh, sorry, I didn't put it on there.
And then we've got for second reading of policy.
Second, one, there's no changes, I just added that cross-reference that wasn't on there, the first time, so we put it through last week in, board member use of social media. The cross-reference you see on there wasn't there last time, I just made sure I added it in, but other than that cross-reference, there's no changes to those policies.
Well, I move that we accept the second reading of policy VEB and policy IMB.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? And that is unanimous.
Can't remember if I voted against that last time.
You probably
I
did.
was gonna say, some of them, I like to be consistent, but I forgot about these ones.
But the time before.
Oh, okay.
Remember I asked if you wanna do them
Yeah.
separately? You
Oh,
said-
that's right,
You said you made your point, you didn't.
that's right.
So our next item would be to move into executive session,
Do we wanna do announcements?
but we might wanna do calendar and announcements first, just before we break for
Yep.
tea. So I will jump ahead to calendar and announcements. There will be no curriculum committee meeting this month.
First.
Oh, well, that's a good reason.
Yeah.
Policy committee will meet on January 13th, 5:30 at the central office. Finance committee will meet on January 20th, 5:30 right here. School board meeting will be also on January 20th at 6 o'clock right here. And the facilities committee will meet on January 8th at 4 o'clock in the central office. Any other?
No, I will be reaching out to those of you that are on, the strategic planning committee, the one I told you about on Monday, Tom's not going to happen.
Okay.
Next Monday, we won't meet till after the new year, schedule, and then for those of you that are on the, negotiations committee, we are gonna be looking to set up our first meeting, in the second week of January.
And for those of you in Bucksport, there is still a school board election. Pete, would you please give us the date and time?
December 30th, 2 weeks from today. It'll be at the Jewett School from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. And you can request your absentee ballot or vote in person at the town office up until Christmas Eve, next Wednesday.
Vote for Keith.
We can't say that.
Oh, I'm sorry, I can't say
You
that.
can't do that.
No. But please vote for somebody.
But please do vote. Your vote does matter. Now we will move on to executive session pursuant to MRSA Title I, Section 4056A, for discussions relative to superintendent's evaluation.
So we'll.
We have a motion and a second, and we will move into executive session. executive session, I would look for a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Yes.
Merry